kids downstairs in the gym. Okay. You want to make an announcement? Yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. Can we get rid of the kids? Kids? Sure. I just did, but you can do it too. Okay. Okay.
Would you mind making a quick announcement that kids between 4 and 10, they have a program downstairs in the cafeteria?
Yeah, I just made the announcement. I just told them, and Hasib's going to come back. He's going to say it again in a more stern voice.
You want me to make that?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kids who are between 4 and 10, you have a very exciting program downstairs in the cafeteria. So if you really want to have fun, all the kids between 4 and 10, you have some exciting program waiting for you. You don't want to miss. Okay, I don't want to see any kids here between 4 and 10. Please go downstairs in the cafeteria.
MashaAllah. We don't want to send them all away. Maybe they want to listen to here. Yeah.
I think
Inshallah, there's some. Maybe, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
So, it is the first Friday of the month, and we're continuing with our Families in Faith series, where we're talking about the stories of the prophets and what family lessons we can derive from this. So, last time we covered the story of which prophet? Lut alayhi salam. And we learned a lot of different lessons that we could after we learned his story. Today we're learning about another prophet that came a little bit after him. One of the few Arab prophets. One of the few Arab prophets. Like our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was one of them. And Salih and Hud were the others. And this now leaves who? Shu'ayb. So, who was Shu'ayb? We're going to talk about Shu'ayb radiallahu an today. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to a group of people that were in an area called Madian. In an area that was called Madian. And why was it called Madian? Because it was named after someone named Madian. So we have Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim's father's brother had a son named? No. That's too confusing. Ibrahim's nephew was who? Lut alayhi salam. Sorry, too confusing. Ibrahim's nephew was Lut alayhi salam. Okay. Now Ibrahim's grandson is being discussed, or those people. So Ibrahim alayhi salam had a son. All right. Okay. I'm going to keep talking until someone kicks me out. Ibrahim alayhi salam had a son named Madian. That son had another son named Madian. So the area and the people in the group were named after this son named Madian. And this prophet Shu'ayb radiallahu an came to these people. So what was specific to them? What was a very, very quick background about them? They were a group of people that did not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala solely. And they actually, before their beliefs, let's get to where they were, because it's very interesting. They were in a very close location to where Lut alayhi salam was. They were in a very close location to where Lut alayhi salam was, in an area, and Madian is very close to modern day Syria. Modern day Syria. And it's said that their area was just near the Dead Sea. It was just near the Dead Sea. Okay? And they were a group of people that were Arabs. The original Arabs that inhabited that land. Alright? Maybe one day when we start talking about the seerah, we'll talk about how that changed over time, inshallah. But for right now, let's move on to their beliefs now. So these people, they believed in various different things, including not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And they used to commit shirk. And the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls out their shirk and defines it is a little more unique than the way the Quraysh used to do. They used to believe in what? They used to worship idols. It was an idol, but it was something very specific. A tree. The tree was called Aika. So Allah would refer to them as Ashabul Aika. This tree was called Aika. It's very, very, very interesting. Okay? So, this is what they worshipped, and this is what their beliefs were. But just like I mentioned about Lut alayhi salam, these people also had a lot of the same evil practices that the people of Lut had. So we know that the people of Lut had one main problem, right? We all know that. But then there were also all of these other problems like highway robbery, stealing from other people, killing people unjustly, highway robbery and stuff like that. The people of Shu'ayb had the same issue too. They had the same issue as well. Highway robbery, hurting people, unjustly taking wealth from them. And they had one main thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights, just like He highlighted one main thing for the people of Lut. And for the people of Shu'ayb, that is cheating in business. Cheating in business. In a very quick summary of the story and the life of this Prophet alayhi salam, is he was sent to a people that used to cheat in business. So what did they do? This is why in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to the people of Madian, He sent Shu'ayb. And He told them, you don't have any God other than Allah. قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Evidence from Allah and clear proof from Allah has come to you. وَلَا فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. So when you give a measure, okay, so let me give you an example of this. Right now, you want to go to a store for grocery shopping, and you want to buy bananas, or you want to buy tomatoes. Then it's the price that's on the tag is going to say, X amount per pound, right? This many dollars or this many cents per pound. So you go to the register, you put it on the the machine where you're scanning, and it will estimate, it will calculate the weight. All right, and that's how the price comes. So what did these people used to do? They used to cheat. Whenever they would sell something, they would give it a higher weight than it actually was, but give them less product. So for example, they would sell 1 pound of bananas, but only actually give them like 0.9 pounds. But when they would buy anything, it would be the opposite. Whenever they would buy something, it would be the opposite. So they would say, okay, this is 1 pound, but then add a little bit extra onto it that they would actually take. So they would only pay for 1 pound of bananas, but they would take 1.10, for example, pounds of bananas. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanded them. He sent Shu'ayb down to teach them about coming back to Tawheed and to stop these numerous sins that they do, especially this one specific sin to them about cheating in business. So so these are actually two of the things that they used to do for like financial sins. A third one was that they were highway robbers, but the robbery was a little bit different than usual, than what we're used to. Like usually whenever we talk about highway robbers, then they stand in the middle of the road, they ambush the caravan that's coming, they'll fight them, they'll kill them, and they'll take all of their possessions. These group of people were a little bit different. Yes, they killed sometimes, but what they were very well known for is adding a toll. Adding a toll. So whenever someone would come by them, they would charge them 10% of all of the merchandise that they had in order to allow them to pass. And they had no right to do that because it wasn't their land. It wasn't, they had no right to implement these kinds of rules. There was no governance in the land. So they were actually stealing from these people. So, like every other prophet, he starts calling his people to Islam. He starts calling his people to Tawheed and to stop the sins. And just like every other prophet, he is met with what? How do the people react? They object it? They object to it? They reject it? They disbelieve? Lack of diversity? Oh, adversity. Yes. Adversity. Mockery. Resistance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قَالُوا يَا شُعَيْبُ أَصَلَاتُكَ تَأْمُرُكَ أَن نَتْرُكَ مَا يَعْبُدُ آبَاؤُنَا أَوْ أَن نَفْعَلَ فِي أَمْوَالِنَا مَا نَشَاءُ إِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ الْحَلِيمُ الرَّشِيدُ. Now this is interesting. He's going to come back at the end for the lessons, the family lessons that we can learn from this. But he called his people to Islam, to the worship of one Lord, and to stop these sins that are troubling to them in this world and will be a source of punishment for them in the next life. So what did they say? What did they say to him? They sarcastically responded. Sarcastically. They said, Ya Shu'ayb, this prayer of yours, does it tell us that we are supposed to abandon whatever our forefathers, our parents, and the rest of our family has done for so long? And we are supposed to listen to you with what we're supposed to do with our money? It's my money, it's my choice. This is their argument. My money, my choice. This is what they are saying to a prophet of Allah who was sent because of their crimes. So they ended off by saying to him, إِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ الْحَلِيمُ الرَّشِيدُ. You are tolerant, intelligent, you're a sensible person. So they're not praising him, they're ridiculing him. Just like every other prophet was rejected and ridiculed. Because they don't want to change, they want to keep the status quo, and they don't want to listen to how they are wrong. So they mocked him, they were sarcastic with him, and all of their behavior eventually ended up leading them to this worship of ancestral lineage. Just like the Quraysh, exactly like the Quraysh. Why should we change when our parents did this and their parents did this and their parents did this, and there is this entire family tree of everyone worshipping the same way? Why should we change just because you tell us to change? Okay. قالوا يا شعيب ما نفقه كثيرا مما تقول وإنا لنراك فينا ضعيفا ولولا رهطوك لرجمناك وما أنت علينا بعزيز قال يا قوم أرهطي أعز عليكم من الله واتخذتموه وراءكم ظهريا إن ربي بما تعملون محيط. Now it changes a little bit. They didn't just ridicule him, now they started to threaten him. And they said, all of this stuff that you were saying to us, we don't understand it, we don't get it. It's not for us. And you know, if it wasn't for your family, if it wasn't for your clan, then we would have stoned you to death. We would have killed you. Because in reality, you are nothing to us. They are saying this to the Prophet. So he responds back to them and he says, "Oh my people, are you putting my family, my clan, my tribe on a higher pedestal than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَاتَّخَذْتُمُوهُ وَرَاءَكُمْ ظِهْرِيًّا, completely turning your back on Allah. إِنَّ رَبِّي بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ مُحِيطٌ. Indeed, my Lord, He knows every finite detail of what you do. So, they had a fear, but that fear was for family and for human beings more than it was for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then, that leads us to the end of their story, because the story of Shu'ayb is actually one of the shorter stories amongst the stories of the prophets. We don't have a lot of information. And at the beginning, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, when He says, قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ, there have been clear signs that have come. We actually don't even have that much information of what those signs were, or what that clear evidence was. So we don't know much. But the story ends just like every other story ends, when a prophet of Allah is disrespected, ridiculed, mocked, and rejected. قال يا قوم أرأيتم إن كنت على بينة من ربي ورزقني منه رزقا حسنا وما أريد أن أخالفكم إلى ما أنهاكم عنه إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت وما توفيقي إلا بالله عليه توكلت وإليه منيب. So he said to his people, listen up, I have a clear proof that I have come with from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as to why you should follow me, as to why you should listen to me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with a very beautiful rizq, provisions. And why does He mention this here? What's the benefit of Him mentioning this point here? Because their main issue is about wealth. They're cheating people in money, in transactions, in business. So He's saying, look at what I have. Everything that I have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do not want to do what I am forbidding you from. He is, as a prophet of Allah, bringing himself down, humbling himself to such a degree, saying, I don't ever want to fall into this issue. Maybe humanizing with them, understanding, listen, I may, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps me, I may also fall into this same sin. Coming down to their level, trying to teach them, trying to explain it to them. So, he says, "In uridu illa al-islaha mastata'at." I only want to fix and do islah. I only want to fix whatever is in my ability. This is a very important point as to the lessons that we're going to learn afterwards. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. My success only comes from Allah. My success only comes from Allah. Alayhi tawakkaltu wa ilayhi unib. It's Him that I put my full trust in, and it's Him who I go back to, who I return back to. So after this, Shu'ayb got tired, and he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah protects him and saves him from these people. And ultimately what ended up happening? The same thing that all people who reject their prophets receive. It said, for 7 days, they were tested with this extreme level of heat, severe heat. They had no wind, they had no water. And they could not find any place where they could go to for shade. Then, a cloud came on the 7th day. It came over them, and everyone rushed to gather underneath that cloud. And as soon as they gathered under the cloud, it started raining ash from the clouds. So it made their situation even worse. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. And His destruction was not as violent as some other prophets' nations felt. They received an earthquake. And the earthquake was so severe, they heard a sound, and immediately their souls left their bodies. Immediately their souls left their bodies and they were gone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes in many different places about this punishment in the Quran. And each time, most of the times, He gives a small variation of how the punishment took place, giving a little bit of extra details in some places. It was overshadowing to them. It was so difficult that it was immediate. They were left prostrating. A group of people who never, it's like the usage of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are so powerful. A group of people that refused to worship in this world died immediately, and the position that they were found in was in a position of prostration. Alright. So this is how they died. And this was the end of this is the end of their story. And now with the last few minutes that I have, I want to talk about some of the lessons that we can learn from this. I was debating whether or not to bring the story of Shu'ayb. I've been saying this a few times now at the first Friday of every month. We're covering the lives of the story, the prophets. We're learning the lessons that we can learn from a family lens. Not from just giving all of the information, because there's more information that I didn't add about the prophets that we've covered already. But specifically what is beneficial for us. And I was going back and forth, should I do this or should I move on to the next prophet? Because the next prophet is going to take us the next 3 months. And that is Yusuf alayhi salam. That's Yusuf alayhi salam. And then ultimately I decided, yes, we need to go with Shu'ayb. Because, and I feel like once we start going over these family lessons that we can learn from this story, it'll start resonating with a lot of people. A lot of people who I've heard their stories personally from. I've heard from secondhand. I've heard during office hours people are coming and explaining what is going on in their own families. And it is no surprise and no wonder why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put this into the Quran for us to benefit from eternally. Okay. So number 1, honesty in your transactions brings barakah. And there was an earlier time where we discussed the meaning of barakah. Barakah means dawamul khair wa ziyadu. It means for the goodness that you're receiving, for it to go on for a long time and for it to keep on increasing, multiplying. Okay? So like Brother Jamali gave a halaqah a few months ago about barakah. If you remember, one of the examples he gave was, let's say you have your paycheck, okay, and you have a certain number of bills. For there to be barakah in your paycheck, it means that all of your needs are taken care of, and you'll have a little bit left over as well. You're in that safe zone. The opposite of this is, let's say for example, 1 month you receive 10-15% extra, okay? And logically speaking, rationally speaking, you have your budget every single month and you should only use that. So whatever 10-15% extra should only be for you to use. But a lack of barakah means that automatically your car is going to stop working. There's going to be some extra medical bills that you have to pay. You're going to get invited to 10 weddings in 1 week where you feel like you have to buy a new suit or dress or whatever. Meaning that money is not going to stay. That money is going to find a way to disappear. This is the meaning of not having barakah in your wealth. So honesty in your transactions and the way that you receive and collect money, meaning the way that you earn money, will bring barakah. And the absence of that honesty will steal that barakah away from you. And you will notice that even though you are making more money, you may have so many more expenses and so many more needs that you have not enough savings left. That money is worth less, even though you have more. And where do we learn this lesson from in his story? He says, بَقِيَّةُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ وَمَا أَنَا عَلَيْكُمْ بِحَفِيظٍ. He says, whatever is left over with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is best for you. Whatever is left over with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is best for you if you are true believers. وَمَا أَنَا عَلَيْكُمْ بِحَفِيظٍ. And I'm not standing over here as your bookkeeper, as your day-to-day advisor, as the one who's going to punish you if you do something wrong. That's not my responsibility to make sure that everything you do is above board and acceptable to Allah. That is your responsibility. This is what he says to his people. What do we see nowadays? What do we see happening in so many families where business is involved? It's an unfortunate fact, but business and issues of money divide families and cause so much tension that some families get to a point where they stop speaking for years or maybe forever. Brothers who had the same business, the reason why they wanted to get into this business was so they could be financially stable, they could provide for their families, they could be financially safe. And then something happens down the road, one person gets greedy, and the other person either does not know what's happening or he turns a blind eye to it and eventually gets taken advantage of. And he is losing over and over and over again. Most of the time, whenever I have seen this, the person who has stolen the money from the other family member, he will see the negative actions in this lifetime. He will see the negative repercussions of his actions in this lifetime. So many times there is no barakah in that household. There is no happiness or contentment in that household. There seems to be, this is not a study, I'm just telling you from my experience and the experience of others. It seems that there is less iman in that household. The kids are less practicing and they have more of an effect as to what happens in this world. And the poorer brother or the poorer family member that was taken advantage of, the one who lost more and had less money at home, who struggled more, that's the one who's able to take care of his family, who has less financial issues, and his kids are practicing. This is a reality. And business is one way. Another way, which is so evil that happens nowadays, is with inheritance. Inheritance laws in this religion are 2/3 of knowledge. Inheritance laws in this religion are 2/3 of knowledge. It is said, whoever has knowledge of inheritance has true knowledge, and whoever is deprived of this has no knowledge. It is such a deep science. It's one of my specialties, alhamdulillah, which I've written a book about. It is not something where just anyone can do whatever they want, especially just because they see an ayah in the Quran, they may say something. It is deep. And from my experience, what I have seen way too many times is that a family member will die, and then the rest of the family will not distribute the leftover wealth or estate in a proper way. This is evil. What will either happen is one family member will usurp the wealth and take it for themselves, or some family members will band together and deprive another person for whatever reason. This person already has money, they don't need money, we need money. Oh, this is a woman, she doesn't need the inheritance because her husband will take care of her. Common nonsense issues. Allah has written it down for each person to receive a certain amount. And in the event of death, people exploit this and make it a further reason to drive families apart, especially at a time where everyone should be coming together. These are modern day examples of financial integrity. The rules of Islam have not come just to tell you how to pray and how to fast. You have been taught how to behave with other people. You have been taught how to use your money, how to make your money, how not to make your money. You have been taught how to distribute your wealth. You have been taught how to wear clothing and what not to wear. You have been taught how to be intimate with your spouse. Everything in this religion has been given to us as knowledge that is beneficial for us to go to Jannah. But the more that we ignore these important rules, just because it's easy for us or more beneficial to us to gain some measly few extra dollars in this world, it will come back on the day of judgment as a burning fire inside of the pits of our stomachs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So that's number one, financial integrity. Being honest will bring more barakah in your wealth. Number two is do not place your family above Allah. Do not place your family above Allah. It sounds ridiculous. Who does that? I don't go to my parents and do sajda to them. I only do sajda to Allah. But so many times we behave in a way as if we are actually worshipping other people. Because we give them our complete undivided love and respect and attention. How does this happen? He said, the people of Madian said to Shu'ayb, وَلَوْلَا رَهْطُكَ لَرَجَمْنَاكَ. If it wasn't for your clan, if it wasn't for your family, then we would have stoned you to death. Meaning, he is coming to them, teaching them about Allah. He is saying, Allah tells you that there's only one God, stop worshipping this tree and your idols and all of this stuff. He says, Allah's rule is that you cannot cheat people in business. And they respond to him saying, okay, we're afraid of your family members, so we're not going to do anything to you. You can keep on talking and doing whatever you want to do. He teaches them that if you don't change, Allah is going to punish you. They're not afraid of Allah's punishment. They're afraid of people in this world. And that happens far too often. And you know when that happens? When we see our family members doing something wrong and we don't stand on the side of justice. And we don't stand on the side of justice. We are worshipping people more than Allah. We are fearing people more than Allah, just like these people did. So if your parents are the parents, or your siblings are the siblings that are stealing from other people, that are dishonest in their business, speak up against them. Be on the side of justice, especially if there's another person who is wronged. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's explicit command to you. He says, be on the side of justice even if it is against yourselves or your parents or your close family members. And this is the meaning of that. So, our loyalty cannot be to our family at the expense of our loyalty to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be at the height and the pinnacle of every lens that we look at this world from. And if anyone else is above that, then we risk worshipping them more than we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last one is, don't be discouraged by ridicule. Oftentimes when someone is practicing religiously practicing the deen at home, then we'll see some other family members who are, they have some inferiority complex, or they see themselves as less than their other family members who are practicing, or they're jealous, or for whatever reason, we'll see them start to ridicule them. Well, why are you growing a beard? You're a young, handsome man. You're never going to get married. You're never going to get a job. Why are you wearing hijab? You're making yourself into a target when you go outside. This is not what we do. Everyone does it. If you don't show your hair, no one's going to want to marry you. Nonsense arguments that are made by people who are jealous, and they in it of themselves don't have the ability to practice the religion. So they see you, they are jealous of your ability to practice, and that Allah has given you that guidance and the ability to practice, and then they turn it around and make it into a joke to ridicule you. This is what happened. قال يا شعيب أصلاتك تأمرك أن نترك ما يعبد آباؤنا أو أن نفعل في أموالنا ما نشاء إنك لأنت الحليم الرشيد. You're telling us what to do with our, with our lives, with our money, opposite to what our parents did. Oh, you must be so smart. You must be so guided by Allah. Oh, sarcasm and ridicule. These are things that the prophets before us had to live with. And we will have to experience these things in this world as well. But we have the stories of the prophets to turn back to lean on. Because at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always be in support of His slaves. He will always be in support of those who put Him first. And just like all of those other people failed to bring their prophets down, these people will fail in bringing us down. And just like the prophets were saved from the hardships that their family members and their clans and their people caused them, Allah will also deliver us and save us from this hardship, on the condition that we put Him first. Allah must be our priority, and He must be in our thoughts in every single decision we make in this world. So with that we'll end, and inshallah for the next 3 months we'll be talking about the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. But each class will be drastically different than the other, and we will gain those lessons from Yusuf alayhi salam and his family. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله